Welcome to Business Inspire Women in Agriculture. Today we're speaking with Guyana's Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustapha on the evolving role of women in shaping Guyana's agriculture sector. Minister Mustapha, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me on your program.
Now, Minister, let's get to the big picture. How significant of a role are women playing in Guyana's agriculture sector?
Well, I want to say since 2020 and since I became Minister of Agriculture, what we have found that we have seen the number of women in agriculture have increased significantly. And their role today is more, they are more involved in agriculture, and we are seeing more and more women are coming into the agriculture sector. Women are now involved in earning their own livelihood from agriculture. And that tells us the significant role women are playing. Because, and I know later on in your program, you'll ask me about how agriculture has been dominated over the years. But today, when you look around the country and you move from different areas, you'll see more and more women are involved in agriculture. So women play a very, very significant role in agriculture. Women are making a valuable contribution to the agriculture sector. So I want to say that we've seen massive increase in women's participation in the agriculture sector over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And indeed, that is a question that I want to ask you. And how do you believe that narrative was able to change?
So first of all, you have to look historically at a party with a vision, a party that is in government with a vision. We know over the years that agriculture, and you will know too, and generally Guyana is a cultural thing in this part of the hemisphere, where agriculture has been dominated by male. We have seen male dominating every facet in the agriculture sector. Unlike our foreparents and grandparents who came here as slave and indentured labor, many of the female were involved also in crops production and working in the fields. But after the abolition of slavery and the end of indentureship, we have seen that the role of women was minimized, and it was a more male-dominated job. But fast forward to 2020, why we are seeing that significant role of women in agriculture? Because the policy that we have as a government, we were instructed and directed by His Excellency the President that every single project, for example, from the Ministry of Agriculture, must have 35% women and youth. So that's the instruction we're working with. So, for example, a number of areas, the Shade House program that we have, the apiculture program that we have, the Black Belly Sheep program, you will see more and more women are involved, because we are not only working to achieve the goal and the objective that was set by His Excellency, but because women today are seeing their other women being involved in agriculture, that by itself is an influence to influence more women. And we are seeing now that when you look at the agriculture sector, women are closing the gap. Almost 50% are involved in agriculture. Mm-hmm. So you'll see that the program that we set, for example, we are modernizing the agriculture sector. So the work in the agriculture sector is becoming less and less strenuous. So it is more suitable for women who can also do what their male counterpart have been doing in the agriculture sector. That is why you're seeing more and more with the policy and programs that we have implemented over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And if I can follow up on that, what is with the global shift toward climate change and technology-driven farming? How is the ministry preparing women to fully participate in these changes?
Well, as I just indicated initially, with the programs that we have, with the modernization that is taking place, for example, before when women start to do their planting in their yard, they do in the kitchen garden. We are replacing that slowly with these small shade houses that we are building around the country. For the last year alone, we built almost 1,000 shade houses, leaving out what the Ministry of Agriculture would have built in the youth program that we have, the AIEP program. But women, we are now, when we modernize agriculture become less strenuous, and it's more closer to what women can do. For example, They can control the sunlight. They can control the irrigation in the shade house. So it's become easier. We started the program of hydroponics, which is less strenuous than going to the back dam and or going to the open field where you have to fork the soil and things like that. So these work that we are doing and the program that we have been implemented are more modern and less strenuous. So that is why we are seeing more and women are embracing agriculture. For example, let me just give a typical example. When I became Minister of Agriculture, I had about less than 10% of the young people who are people who would have gone through the Guyana School of Agriculture and the University of Guyana coming out with a degree, a diploma, or a certificate. They hardly work in the agriculture sector. But today, what we have found, if you go in the agriculture sector, you'll find a lot of young people who would have go into the classroom and learn the theory. They are now doing the practical work. They are earning their livelihood from agriculture. That tells you a story because agriculture is not being viewed today as a menial job, as a job for people who never went to school, a job for people who didn't have a proper educational background. Today, with what we are doing, with the research that we are doing, with the modernization that we are doing, we are seeing more and more people are embracing, especially women and youth, are embracing agriculture.
Now, if we can talk about the financial and technical support systems tailored for women farmers, especially in the areas of accessing credit, training, and land.
So, first of all, when you look at the allocation in the sector, from 2020 to now, we have seen the budgetary allocation increase from $13 billion to $104 billion in 2025. We have seen a number of agro-processing facilities around the country. We have built almost 13 for the last 5 years. We have seen the SMEs play a very important role in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, where grants now are being given to women and single parents. We are working very closely now with the banks, that where the Ministry of Agriculture acts as guarantor so that the women and young people can access loan from the banks. So all these financial help are given to women, given to youth. So, for example, if a single parent who doesn't own a property have to go for a loan to a bank or a financial institution, they don't have any collaterals. Now the Ministry of Agriculture, we are working with them to ensure that we guarantee the bank that they will pay back the loan. We're working with them and put them in a program. For example, we have a number of young people and women where we are working now who are working with us now in the poultry sector. We are now building about 12 tunnel ventilated houses, which will hold about roughly about each house will hold about 40 to 50,000 birds. Now they will have to give us a working capital of 10 million. The Ministry of Agriculture is putting the other amount. They are taking the loan from the bank. They will invest in that, and as the venture get into action and start to get profit coming out, then they will pay back the loan. But at least they don't have to take a collateral to the bank. We stand the guarantor there. So that is the kind of financial help we give into these vulnerable groups. And today, let me be very frank. Let me be very frank with you. I think, and this is not a prejudice statement, but I think women today are leading in certain aspect in the agriculture sector. Gone are the days when you find that agriculture only men has to do this and men have to do that. Even operating machine. I went to West Coast Barbies to commission a project at West Coast, and on the spot, I employed 2 female to operate our machines there with the BIT program that we have under the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Agriculture have been working. And if you look at that program, heavy duty machine operators, you will find almost 50% of operators are women, female. So gone are the days when male used to dominate certain aspect in our society. We are seeing now the gaps are closing. And not only the Ministry of Agriculture, if you go to different other sectors in the country, you'll find that women now are closing the gaps.
Rural women in farming. What specifically is being done by the Agriculture Ministry to ensure that they benefit equally to the initiatives that government has in place?
Well, I think, first of all, I don't see any gap that was created in terms of development from rural or urban communities. When you look, as a matter of fact, most of these projects that we are embarking on are out on the outlying area rather than on the urban areas like Georgetown, New Amsterdam, Bartica, town area. So I find that, look, if there is any gap at all, that gap have been closing in because for example, last Saturday, I went to West Coast Borbies in Region 5. I met most of the small ruminants farmers. Almost 50% of those farmers are women. We have distributed 65 acres plots so that they can now where the animal there have pastures for the animals. And when you look at it, those women would have worked closely with the GLDA to get those plots. We are working with them, and new opportunities are created there for them to get it. So I don't find any gap, as you rightly said, that there is a gap. There is no gap because the rural and urban areas. I think, as a matter of fact, the rural areas have more opportunities now because the activity is more prevalent in the rural area rather than the urban areas. So I don't find any major gap there, and I think we have been working. If you look at the agro processing area, you might have more. You might have more facilities in the urban areas, and that is what we are doing now to close in that gap in terms of building these facilities in outlying areas. I can say in places like Guns in Region 9, places in Whitewater in Region 1, places like Charity in Region 2. Crabwood Creek, Uriala, all those areas now we are building agro-processing facilities so that women can have the same access that their counterpart in the rural the urban areas are having. Mm-hmm. So we are closing in that gap.
Are there areas that you would want to see more work done?
Well, we are working to be there. As a matter of fact, Guyana today is one of the leading countries in the region. And whatever we do here normally translate across the Caribbean now, because I am very, very proud of the fact that we are now leading in agriculture in CARICOM. And if we are embarking on a program, we have a good influence because President Ali now is leading that sector in CARICOM. We are chairing the Ministerial Task Force on Food Security and Agriculture. And if we want to implement a program, I think that the other Caribbean countries are following suit with us. So what we do here in Guyana, we are not only influence the activities for women in Guyana, we are also influence that further field. In Caribbean countries, places like Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean country, we are finding now that women are embracing these activities. We are finding now that countries in the Caribbean are sending their students to Guyana for training. So I want to say that we have been moving in the right direction. We are seeing now more of our women that are playing leading role in these sectors.
My last question, Minister, has to do with exports and what role you see women playing in terms of being more involved in the agri-export business.
So, as you rightly said, as you are speaking now, 2 containers are being loaded to send to Caribbean countries. Places like Trinidad, Barbados, and most of those products were produced by women, the agro-processing areas. And as I'm speaking now, Anson McCall is sending those products into the Caribbean markets. Neil and Massey Group, they are now also buying from Guyana. We have a number of other entities in the Caribbean now are coming directly to Guyana. And most of those products are producing by the women folks in our country. And I have some for display here. If you look at the shelf, you'll see some of those products, or you look at the basket up there, right? You'll see those products that are producing by women. So a lot of our products, we have over 3,000 products producing in Guyana from the agro-processing area, and most of those products, almost 75% of those products are produced by women. So a lot of products are being exported overseas that are produced by Guyanese women. I'm proud of that.
Yes. Well, Minister, thank you very much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you very much for having me in your program, and I will be available next time you have other issues.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.